I didn't want to live anymore. That was the feeling for quite a number of years. I attempted suicide. Every day was a terrible day for me. I didn't want to live, and I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. Because if you can put your finger on what it was, you just stop doing that thing, and then you seem to be better. But with mental health, it's not a disability that you can actually see.
Hello. We all know someone who's suffering mentally. If it's not you, it's someone you know. And for many of us who have been trapped in a state of mental turmoil, it's so easy to associate oneself with it. It's just so easy to be buried in a state of learned helplessness, like there's no way out of it. Tyson Fury felt exactly the same way too. He felt like this is just the way things are. Men don't talk about their problems, we keep to ourselves, and pretty much, things are just the way they are, but that's not necessarily true, at least not for the majority. There's a lot to be garnered by propagating this narrative, of course, because if you can make someone comfortably associate themselves as a victim to their own mind, from there, you can forever treat that symptom. And, there is an appeal to it as well. Contrary to popular belief, as someone who was once upon a time clinically diagnosed as depressed, I firsthand know the feeling of how good it feels to beat yourself up, to whittle yourself down, to break yourself apart. There's a solace in hurting yourself. Forming an identity with negativity, tragically, can be very rewarding. And the worst part is, when you start to feel better, if you do manage to pick yourself up, there's almost a euphoric trap put in place where your brain rewards you for plummeting back down into darkness. That's just crazy, isn't it? Isn't that an irony? Feeling rewarded for a broken victim narrative, and every time you descend back into that darkness, it's like fast food. There's a euphoria in that initial bite, only to realize you've just ripped yourself apart. Cursing the world, cursing the heavens, broken, you wonder why. Not realizing you were the one letting yourself be unraveled in the first place. When you understand, you realize exactly why it's so hard to get out of such a state. You cannot blame anyone who suffers from this, and by no means can you call anyone who's descended weak. The strength and courage to live on regardless is a feat admirable in and of itself, but nonetheless, it does not change the reality. We are the ones who must take responsibility for how we feel. The world, it will not owe us anything. At your core, you know this. Nature is neither good nor evil. It is a half glass empty or a glass half full. It's all perspective, thus knowing that there will never be another person like you, no matter how far you search in this vast and infinite cosmos, if there will never be another you. Don't you owe it to yourself and to the world to truly experience and share that great gift that is you? Even if you lay bricks or fix lamps, without such individuals, the very foundation we reside upon would not be illuminated, would not be safe. Every individual who's granted us contribution genuinely, regardless of how big or small, they're all necessary for the fruition of this tier of peace. We needed people just like you. And this is true, regardless of the walk of life. In this sense, you owe it to yourself to find a bit more meaning and fulfillment out of this existence. You owe it to yourself to truly experience and share through your own unique individual filter. You do that just by being you. That happens most effectively when you just enjoy being you. And so, how can we truly salvage a meaningful and fulfilling experience from this paradigm of existence? Definitely not by being haunted mentally. From stories of Alexander the Great and Diogenes to reference frames we have even today, Tyson Fury. All the wealth, all the status, all the pleasure possessible in this world, it will never be enough if internally you are not well kept. It's as if you have cultivated the finest meal but do not possess the palate to enjoy it. It's as Oscar Wilde said, there are two tragedies in life: not getting what you want and getting it. Caught in a limbo between endlessly seeking and realizing having it all is still not enough, we end up trapped searching everywhere except for the one place it truly exists. All true fortune exists within. What you are searching for is within you. All you seek, the world you desire, it starts within, thus must first exist within you. But now the question becomes, how do we salvage this world? The paradox is, as infinitely perplexing as it may seem, the solutions are always beautifully simple.
When you're feeling down, it's only a short-lived thing. Sooner or later, you're going to feel well again. And, I've been there where I woke up every day and every day was a grey day, every day was a dark day. And I wanted to die every single day. I think as men, it's like, we're going to be looked upon as a bit weaker, or it makes us more vulnerable. But I think the quicker and sooner you come out and speak to somebody or get medical help, then the sooner you can return. I have to be thankful now for breathing fresh air, and if I want to go for a coffee or a Diet Coke and that, I'm like, this is amazing. Where before I took it all for granted, it was like, oh, well, I've got this ambition, that ambition, I want to do this, want to do that. But now I'm so thankful for smaller things.
Tyson Fury feeling joy just by getting a Diet Coke. He goes out and feels great getting a Diet Coke. Most of us cheapen something as simple as that intellectually. We think it's not even a big deal. Us humans constantly seeking freedom to be liberated from these chains, but Tyson Fury committing himself to a path of meaningful discipline, fixating himself on a meaningful routine instead, having people to talk to. Tyson Fury learning how to reframe negativity, negative feelings to instead positive feelings, using the polar opposite reasoning to pull himself to the other side. All of this is something you have all heard to some extent, but to sit with even one pillar, honestly, the pain, the work, the time makes reaching for a quick remedy just much more appealing. But that's just it, and truly, it is as Lao Tzu had said, if you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you have to give is that of your own self-transformation. This may be very difficult to grasp, especially if you try to do so logically, but when you do, it all starts to make sense, and the reason as to why is also very simple. If you reinforce gratitude within yourself and consistently reframe negative mindsets to more positive ones, what happens? You express out more positively. What happens when you express out more positively? You will more consistently have positivity reciprocated right back at you. This is why the masters have said the world is a mirror of your own internal world. People will more consistently give back to you the energy you gave them. Not in all cases, but more consistently this is true. Now what happens as you reinforce more positivity in your environment because of the way you internally feel? Like a light switch flipped in the darkness, you begin to light the room. Thus eventually, with emotional resilience, consistency, the vibe, it just spreads. In a very tangible and objective way, you see the world around you change from night to day, and from there, you've sown the seeds to influence others without even trying to, which in turn increases the likelihood of them naturally doing the same. It's a magic, viewable in plain sight. Thus truly, not only has your own world changed, but the world around you is physically changing. And it's all because you started with your inner world. It's ironic because quite easily we can see our suffering induced as a result of the outer world. That is the rational answer. When you don't fully understand, it truly makes perfect sense to just point back out at this outer world with malice, with hatred, with resentment. And because that makes so much sense at first, it just doesn't make sense at first to look and foster inward. But it does when you understand the cause and effect relationship, to reframe negative feelings to positive feelings, to seek meaningful discipline opposed to hedonistic freedom, to articulate our thoughts and articulate a way forward opposed to turning our gaze away through chronic stimulation. I think it's just crazy how none of this is ever taught in our institutions. You are what you consistently do. That is what Tyson Fury is a physical manifestation of, meaningfully disciplined and having a place to articulate himself, reframing negative feelings to positive feelings consistently. Through it, Tyson Fury has left an ever perplexed state of self-destruction for a state of pure bliss in his day-to-day life, where even the simplest of tasks like showing up for training or getting a Diet Coke, the simple yet infinite reality before him has become all blissful. With that said, let this signify that not a lot is needed to experience true euphoria, true bliss. The greatest trick has always been that the garden you have searched for has always existed right before you. It was all there, all along. But to truly grasp it, that's where it becomes difficult, for in a web of mental gymnastics, the foundation needed to grasp that simple truth is what makes it all so difficult. But if Tyson Fury can do it, if I can do it, if others can do it, if people can do it, why can't you? There is no tangible reasoning that won't unravel with a bit of questioning. After all, there is no tangible justification signifying why you are not allowed. That is all an illusion. Your time here is limited. In infinity, there will never be another you. You owe it to yourself to enjoy this experience just a bit more. In all of that, it starts within. To that end, thank you, Tyson Fury, for this lesson. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, peace.